For the second part of section 4.4, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about the average value of a function over an interval, and we're going to talk about the second fundamental theorem of calculus. So the first thing is the average value of a function, and here's what it states. If a function is integrable on the interval from a to b, then the average value of the function on that interval is defined as 1 divided by b minus a multiplied by the integral from a to b of f of x with respect to x. So that's a formula that you just kind of need to memorize. So let's talk about what it actually does. It takes the original function f of x, and it takes a certain piece of it, just from like x equals a to x equals b, and it calculates the average y value on that interval. So if your function f of x represented maybe your profit or loss for a company, then the average value would represent your average cost, or your average profit or your average loss. So this is actually like pretty good. Like it can calculate average speed, it can calculate average profit or average, price, average cost, average expense. It has a lot of applications to not only physics, more so to business than anything else. So that's a formula you need to know. For the first example, we're going to find the average value of the function f of x equals 3x squared minus 2x on the interval from x equals 1 to x equals 4. So, all that means is we need to set up the formula 1 over b minus a, and this is always a, and this is always b. So for this particular problem, we have 1 over 4 minus 1. Multiplied by the integral from a to b, so from 1 to 4, of the function, which is 3x squared minus 2x with respect to x. Then we'll just evaluate that and substitute in our 4 and our 1, and we'll see what we get for the average value. We'll pause and let everybody try that on their own. Okay, so this 1 over 4 minus 1 simplifies to 1/3. And if we integrate this function, what do we get?
48.
No, the actual, I want the antiderivative.
Oh, x cubed minus x squared.
X cubed minus x squared, because the 3 and the 2 cancel to 1, right? So we're going to evaluate that from 1 to 4. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hold the 1/3, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to multiply.
You wrote 1 to 1.
Oh, thank you. 1 to 4? Okay, thanks. So now we're going to substitute in the top. So if we put 4 in, we get 4 cubed, which is 64, minus 4 squared, which is 16, minus, substitute 1 in, we get 1 cubed minus 1 squared. And we have to be really careful because all of that has to be multiplied by 1/3. It's why I put the double parentheses there to remind you. So the inside here cleans up to what?
48.
48? So our average value is equal to 1/3 times 48, which is 16. So this function, this quadratic right here, has an average y value of 16 units between 1 and 4. And that's what the average value formula calculates. For the second example, we want to find the average value of the function f of x equals 9 over x cubed on the interval from 2 to 7. So the average value is 1 over b minus a, so for this case it's 1 over 7 minus 2, multiplied by the definite integral from 2 to 7 of the original function, 9 over x cubed with respect to x. So that's going to give us 1/5 multiplied by the integral from 2 to 7. We'll put this up on top and make it 9x to the negative 3 so that we can integrate. And that gives us what for our integral? 1/5 multiplied by
9, negative 9 halves. Oh,
X squared.
I put negative 9 over 2x squared.
That's right, guys? Yeah. You add 1 to the power and we get 9x to the negative 2 divided by the new power and we get negative 2. So if we drop the x back to the denominator, we would have negative 9 over 2x squared. Negative 9 over 2x squared. So we'll go ahead and simplify that. We're going to evaluate it from 2 to positive 7. So let's just hold the 1/5 until we get it evaluated. If we substitute in 7, we get negative 9 over 2 times 49, which is what?
98.
98?
Said yeah.
Okay. And then if we substitute in positive 2, we get minus a negative 9 over, is that 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an 8, okay? So that comes up to 1/5 times 405
Divided by
over
392.
392. So this whole parentheses here goes to that. And then it'll simplify to what?
81 over 392.
So the average value is actually a decimal for that guy, which kind of makes sense because, I mean, if you look at it and you plug in 2, you're going to have 9/8, but if you plug in 7, I mean, that's going to be much less than 1. So it should be something a little less than 1. Make sense?
How would you check this?
Well, you could check this part of it right here. You can take this part and you could check it in your calculator. And you should be able to check the 405 over 392. Or you could actually type the whole thing into your calculator. You could do 1/5, of 9 over x cubed. I usually just check this part in my calculator.
Because you know you multiply.
Right, and then at the end I multiply by the 1/5 and double check it. So that is the average value of a function over a given interval.